Okay, everybody loves garden maintenance, right? Wow. I once had a lady say to me, I don't want to take up gardening. I've heard you on CBC. It's all problems. It's all trouble. And of course, people only call in with their trouble. They don't call in and say, I had a 20-pound harvest of parsnips last week. No, they never do that. They always call in with trouble. So garden maintenance, we like to think it's kind of like garden psychology, don't we?
It is,
Yeah.
garden psychology. Any couch potatoes out there?
I had a client once that said to me, I've just retired. I want you to design a garden for me that I'll need to work on at least 40 hours a week. I was like, really? But most people, maybe not quite so much. So we love this picture because Mariko, our illustrator's mother, is a psychiatrist. So that's her mother, the carrot. And this is Stephen, the couch potato. So you're going to have bugs. Goes without saying, small bugs grow up to be big bugs. And there's lots of strategies you can use. Again, if you use the floating row covers, they're going to be a very good cure or a way of avoidance, I guess, to keep bugs from getting onto your cabbage crops and things like this. I mean, I'm sure everybody recognizes the cabbage moth larva. The little black poops that they leave, a lot of people think are seeds or they think are maybe
Eggs?
eggs, but they aren't. They're poops.
And so we always talk about growing a few flowers in the vegetable garden. It doesn't have to be straight vegetables.
No, we
and
don't.
so we have here some alyssum. And why do we have the alyssum, Donna?
Because how many people buy bugs? Who likes to buy bugs mail order?
Hands?
Nobody.
Who's bought ladybugs?
Stephen used to sell
Okay.
ladybugs. One person's bought ladybugs.
I used to sell ladybugs, and they'd come in these burlap bags, and there'd be 3,000 ladybugs, or for the real keeners, I think you could buy a 20,000 pack. And the people would take them home, let them out in the garden, and they'd come back to me the next day, and they'd say, so they all flew away.
Because I don't know if you know the story behind ladybugs, they're all mostly wild collected in California where they overwinter. So the first thing they're going to be looking to do once they're scraped up, put in these burlap bags, stored in a refrigerator and shipped to Calgary, they're going to be looking to get out and they're going to be looking to do other things.
They're going back to California.
So I say, leave the pussy willows, leave the dandelions, plant alyssum, because those ladybugs, when they get out that your neighbors purchase, are going to be looking for a place to go get some nectar, because the nectar and the pollen are going to keep them strong. And why do they need to be strong?
You want to make a romantic setting in the garden for these bugs.
So the first thing that ladybugs are going to do after they've had their little tasty tidbit of alyssum nectar and maybe some pollen is they're going to want to get out and they're going to want to breed. And then what are they going to do? They're going to lay their eggs. So you're going to be looking on your plants always on the underside because these are ladybug eggs. Now a lot of people will say, I had some orange things on the bottom of my leaves, but I squished them, so we're good, right? No, those are your ladybug eggs. These ones down below, these are lacewing eggs. So lacewings are on the long string and then a little white egg. So my friend Joan took this picture. I can hardly believe she got both on one leaf. Anyways, the ladybugs will hatch out.
Yeah, and here's a ladybug larva. So it looks like a little, it's like a little alligator. It's running around the leaf, gobbling up aphids. And I think there's an aphid in this picture, isn't there, Don?
Yeah, somewhere down here.
They're voracious. Anyway, if you have a bad infestation of aphids, go look for these, and they move around quickly and they gobble up lots.
I actually took some from my mom's garden in BC and brought them home on WestJet. They don't even know half the things that are on WestJet. I brought home the larvae and I put them in my greenhouse because I had bought some tomatoes that year. I wanted to have a wider range than I had room to start, so I started 8 kinds and bought 2. The 2 I bought had aphids on them and they spread to all the others. So I borrowed some ladybug larvae, not the ladybugs from my mom. But ladybugs aren't the only things that eat aphids. I took this picture in my daughter's garden up in Edmonton. This is a little aphid midge or aphid aletes, and these are found around the world. So they're positively here in Calgary, although I took this picture in Edmonton. They're positively here just because they're found internationally.
And don't forget that bar of soap down there, Donna. So you might see there's a bar of soap in the corner of this picture here, and we put that up there because we disagree about soap. Now, I like to use a little bit of insecticidal soap if I get a bad infestation of aphids in the garden. And if
That's like using just a few cigarettes or something. You know, come on. If you're using soap, you're using soap.
I'm using soap. I'm using soap. Well, when those aphids move in and they start to polish off the broad bean crop, who has problems with aphids on broad beans here? Can I see? Good. Okay.
That's because they're double digging.
I always get aphids on the broad beans.
Who even likes broad beans? Oh, a couple of people. See, Steve, nobody likes broad beans.
Come on. Who likes broad beans? Yeah? Thank you. So my philosophy is, if there's lots of predators there and they're going to take care of those aphids, I'll leave them. But if I don't see any predators and the aphids are getting bad, I'll spray the garden, because I say to Donna, if you want things totally natural, go live in the woods.
Well, I say those poor little aphidoletes and larvae and things will all be killed when you spray them with soap, because they're very sensitive. So I try not to. If I have to, if I have aphids and I can't deal with it, I try to just hose them off with water, a strong stream of water, because most of the ladybugs will still climb up, whereas the aphids have, it looks like a screw cap, kind of a beak that goes into the plant, and they're actually imbibing. They always say they're sucking, but they don't actively suck. They just let it come in. When you hose them off, it breaks off their poor little beak.
That sounds cruel.
Well, it is a bit cruel, but the soap would kill the honeybees and things. So I'm not going to go there. Anyway, two different opinions because we can't agree on everything. Finally, garden harvest. People ask these questions. Is there a certain day in October when we should harvest everything? We're like, no, harvest all along. Taste it.
Taste it. That's the best way to tell if it's ready. So you're not sure if that pod of peas is ready. You can feel it, see if it's plump. But if you're not sure, taste some. Same with the tomatoes. Here's a green tomato. So who would have guessed that's right?
Cohen knew that. And this is Emma checking the crops. We say check all the time. Something might not have been ready this morning and it's ready this afternoon. So you have to be, it's not like, I mean, you do buy those packages of peas at the grocery store that are all at the same size, but they don't actually grow that way in the garden. You have to keep checking and maybe pick a few today and a few tomorrow. And of course, we give you tons of charts. When it's okay to pick, when it's too late to pick, when you've blown it and you have to just rototille it under. So we give you, a chart so that you know for every plant what to do. So that's it.
That's it.
I think that's the end of No Guff Vegetable Garden.